The hell is a JLA Avenger? I'm very confused.
Did I
It's a
mistype?
new drink at Starbucks.
I'll have the venti JLA Avengers. 2 pumps of Captain America.
That sounded a lot more naughtier than it should have been.
Oh yeah, because I didn't mean for it to sound like that.
Only you went that way.
Wink.
Hey, you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor, the voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time, and SpongeBob SquarePants. Ah, meow. Oh, Gary the Snail, too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening! Oh, I love the Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh. And Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned, my friend's going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Greetings, Spice fans! Silk City Hot Sauce is now sponsoring the Dorkening Podcast Network. Our craft sauces are made in Vermont in small, high-quality batches using locally sourced, farm-grown ingredients. Silk City Hot Sauce comes in a variety of heat strengths and killer flavors like Jezebel, Erotic Fever, Mango Madness, and Good Morning Jonestown. And don't forget our newest creation, Hot Syrup. Make no mistake, Spice fans, this is the queen of sweet heat. There's new and unique flavors coming out all the time. Best of all, right now, listeners of the Dorkening Podcast Network can go to SilkCityHotSauce.com and use coupon code DORK. Not only will you get 20% off your order, we'll also throw in a free bottle of hot sauce. That's SilkCityHotSauce.com. Coupon code DORK.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey, happy Wednesday, everybody. You're watching The Dorkening, and my name is Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. We have an awesome show scheduled for you today, and as always, Steven, how's it going?
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening. RW.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on here?
Oh, love it. Yo.
Hey, everybody.
Alpha Brandon.
Hey, everyone. RW, that joke was for the birds. Yes!
And very, very special appearance, Jar Jar Jeremy. How's it going?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Hey, we love having you on. So this is going to be a fun show. A lot going on. Big news right before today's show. They're going to be reprinting JLA Avengers. Now, Jeremy, you posted that, right?
Yeah, I follow a lot of the stuff through my comic group, so like I get to see a lot of the stuff that's going on, mainly because people are disappointed about the signing being canceled and stuff. So, but they're excited about this, so that's good. Yeah. Only 2,000 copies, though.
How many? 2,000?
7,000.
7,000. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a small print run.
Yeah. Well, that's going to go really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is the first time it's ever been reprinted, right?
Yep.
Wow. And so this is through the Hero Initiative, and it's to help out George Perez. Is that correct?
That's to my knowledge.
I remember
a lot of the proceeds.
Yes.
Family and sausage.
Yeah. The article I was reading. Let's see. No, that's not it. I closed it. Damn it. The article I was reading. It looked like it was for the Heroes Initiative to help out his family, because there was some sad news this week that seems like George is in hospice. Is that correct?
Yeah, not as bad as we all think from what I'm reading. It seems like he's just going there to be more comfortable, and him and his wife can, spend their time together.
That makes sense. Yeah. Wow.
But I'm kind of confused why JLA and Avengers took so long to be reprinted. I heard rumors from a Lifefield podcast. I don't know how true, false, or whatever, that Jim Shooter had a lot to it not being reprinted for a long time. Really?
I think I heard something vaguely familiar with that. Anybody else hear anything on why it wasn't reprinted?
No, I mean, I've been operating under the assumption for a couple of decades that the likely reason that it wasn't reprinted is because of the fact that it is a joint venture between Marvel and DC Comics. And in the years since this was first published, their go-betweens and collaborations have been fewer and farther between, which a large part of that is because it's very difficult when you have large entities like that agreeing upon how things are going to be split. it's the same, likely along the same lines of why we haven't seen anything like the Marvel versus DC, DC versus Marvel, and Amalgam Comics comic books reprinted in any real fashion since their initial trade paperback runs after the first runs of the issues. Because how do you really go into that and divvy it up, and especially when they co-own things, easier to just like let sleeping dogs lie than to have to rehash. But if ever there was an instance where it makes a lot of sense to bring something back to the forefront, this would be it, because it's not really about who gets what on either side of it. It's about helping out one of the creators of this particular story, because he and his family are going to be going through an incredible hardship, not just financially, but also emotionally. So it's a big deal for collectors out there who want to get this. It's a big deal for George Perez and Kurt Busiek, who wrote this with him, and George Perez's wife, because it's going to honestly help buoy them, with mitigating the medical costs. But really, it's important for him to be able to like keep his spirits up, and for a guy who spent so much of his life creating these stories and drawing these beautiful pictures of characters that so many people know and love, I mean, he deserves to be able to reap the benefit of feeling good about that, especially in, unfortunately, is going to be his last days.
And I just read, so JLA Avengers will be available in March. It's going to be available at participating comic book stores. So definitely hit up your local comic book shop. I'm going to be hitting up Sarge's to see if they can, if they're going to be getting it. And Sarge's in New London.
Yeah, it'll be a retail price of $29.99. It's going to be a total collection, with, I believe it's going to have like companion artwork and commentary or something like that from like Kurt Busiek and George Perez. So it's got extra stuff in there as well. So it's pretty cool.
Am I crazy to think that that's a cheap price for that?
Well, I mean, it's certainly, I don't think it's,
reasonable.
I think it's reasonable, but also it's better than the no version of this you could get beforehand. I mean, I'm one of the people that was able to get this when it was 4 parts in prestige format coming out.
Yeah.
Not everybody had that opportunity. Some people, this for some people was like their Miracle Man run. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up wanting to read Miracle Man in the worst way and just always thinking like it's never going to happen. And eventually I buckled down and collected all the comic books over the years, only to have Marvel fucking buy the goddamn comic book, like finally got the rights and started pushing it all out under their own label. But, it's the same thing here. People who likely thought they were never going to get it unless they went out and found the individual issues. So this is a great boon for them. So if you're one of 7,000 people out there who's lucky enough to get it, vaya con Dios.
Totally. Yeah. In other comic book news, obviously we all watched, well, we didn't watch the Super Bowl. Let's
No, I did not watch the Super Bowl. Go sports. Move the thing to the other thing. Woo!
I did, because usually I have a 65% statistical breakdown of me winning football pools. But I didn't win this year, but I usually watch for commercials. So yeah. Obviously we're talking about one big commercial that we all saw, which
yeah, the Coinbase commercial. Oh my god, that was the servers,
box.
I was thinking more of the cable guy of the Verizon, but yeah.
Who clicked the game Coinbase one?
I mean, already have.
Yeah.
Them, so
yeah, but so I was able to get in before it crashed, and it was $15 in Bitcoin for new users, and existing users get entered into you win something, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
So maybe. Hey,
I highly doubt it. But
hey, it crashed, so I'm sure only a few people got in. So that raises your chances. But Yo-Yo, you win everything anyway, so we don't have a chance. No, seriously, anytime we did any sort of raffle at the cons, Yo-Yo won. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
But yeah, Doctor Strange 2.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Okay, so
madness, I tell you, madness.
AKA Sam Raimi, take my money. You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
So Patrick Stewart confirmed.
Yep.
I think it's so cool that they're crossing over like Marvel with Star Trek. It's awesome. Like the second I saw it, I was like, "Oh my god, Picard is part of this like time console." And like Strange at one point is going to be like,
"Do you think?
Listen, you have to let me do this," and then Picard's just going to be like, "The line must be drawn here."
There are 4 lights.
Sure.
What's that, Jeremy?
You think he's somehow become a watcher? First,
I like to watch. All right, Chuck.
So the internet was ablaze, saying it's the Illuminati.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
seems to be what they're gearing towards.
So the question becomes: is it going to be like the regular members, or? But I mean, the internet also thought that Mephisto was going to be a thing. So.
Oh my fucking god!
So there is a demon's face on the door. Somebody pointed out, and it does look like Mephisto.
All right, no, just fucking stop. It's not Mephisto. It's never going to be Mephisto. Everybody expects Mephisto, so it's never going to be Mephisto.
We're going to find out from the very beginning it's been Mephisto.
We're gonna find out that mutants were actually eradicated from the MCU back when Wanda was like 12, and that's actually how they're gonna do the whole like introducing the X-Men into the MCU. It's gonna be all like retroactive, like, oh my god, she inadvertently got rid of all the mutants and split it off into a completely different time stream. I don't know. I got nothing. Who knows what's gonna fucking happen in this movie?
No, well, we know Marvel they love to fuck with us,
Yeah, this is true.
So we don't know what's true, what's not. From what people have been picking apart in the trailer, the shot with her and the flowers and the trees, that's an illusion because they also show a scene also in the trailer where it's all like a red barren like area.
And she's wearing her Scarlet Witch getup, and that's when she says, like, "Oh, you do whatever you want to the time stream, and everyone thinks you're a hero. I do what I want. I'm the enemy. That doesn't seem fair, or whatever." It's like, yeah, except for the fact that like Doctor Strange is actually trying to like fix time, and you're insane. Like, there's a difference. Like, you're cuckoo banana pants looking for kids in the time stream that you already fucking made up out of your own head to begin with. And Doctor Strange is trying to fix time. Big fucking difference. Big difference. Just saying. But yeah, it does the juxtaposition between those two scenes. It shows the reddish background and all of a sudden like gnarly trees instead of like the nice white blossomed ones that she was like trimming. But he is wearing the same clothes, the same exact clothes in both of those shots. I don't know that it's necessarily an illusion. I think it might be more along the lines of like her easily slipping into that Scarlet Witch persona. And so like what we see is like Wanda trimming those trees, and then she like gets upset because of what Strange is saying to her, and that's it doesn't seem fair, that whole thing. It kicks it in, and that's when she like goes full on like, oh, want to see some fun stuff I've learned from the Darkhold? And just this is part of the reason why she's so dangerous, is because she would shift into stuff like that without even really thinking about it, with just automatically. Like, I think that's probably the more likely scenario, just showing how volatile she is as a character. But that's just me.
Well, like we said, they love to fuck with us, so we have no idea what's going to happen. But did anybody else pick up anything from the trailers? There was a lot to unpack.
I picked up something from poster. I know that the poster has those little glass shards, and if you look real closely, you can see different things. Like you can see the Cyclops monster that he fights in one scene. But if you look real closely in the poster, on the bottom right corner, one of the glass shards has a British shield.
Well, not a British shield. It's Captain Carter's shield.
Yeah. So maybe they're fucking with us. I know they're gonna show Strange Supreme, obviously in the trailer. So I don't know if they're trying to meld What If in there. I don't know. So
yeah. What if? With Captain Carter's shield, with What If, obviously the superior Strange, and also zombies were in the trailer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, a couple of them. We saw Zombie Strange, and Zombie Wanda.
Yeah,
and that's the other thing too is there's an instance within the trailer, not zombification or anything, but it shows Wanda in her Scarlet Witch gear, like in a living room in front of Wanda in like sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and there's been some speculation like, oh, that could be a variant Wanda that Scarlet Witch is in front of, maybe one that actually like was okay with shit that went down, like actually learned how to cope well. I think I think it's probably more of an internal dialogue kind of thing. It's probably her better nature, Wanda, versus the nature of the Scarlet Witch. This force of nature that she can't control, that there's an entire chapter dedicated to in the Darkhold. Like, I think that's probably representative of the struggle that she's going through as the movie progresses, which I'm for.
Yeah.
It's Sam Raimi, so I mean, likely at some point I'm going to see somebody floating with their arms flailing about them and a camera following their fucking every movement, and somebody saying that they're going to swallow their soul. I'm waiting for that to fucking happen.
Who knows?
Speaking of, I'm hoping Bruce Campbell shows up in it. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
What? Say that again?
Bruce Campbell.
I mean,
given the fact that the army, like, he's the reason in the comic books the zombies became a thing. Just hoping.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance of it. Will but I mean, even if Bruce Campbell does show up, he's not going to have like a gigantic role per se.
Oh, he doesn't have to.
It's gonna be something that Sam Raimi finds an excuse to literally hit him in the fucking face with. Like, whatever causes Bruce Campbell pain delights Sam Raimi. So
even if we don't get a cameo by Bruce Campbell,
we are.
Hear me out. Even if we don't, he might rope in the Necronomicon somehow, because at the very end of WandaVision, when Wanda has like the stack of books next to herself reading the Darkhold, next to when Doctor Strange is going through the place talking to Scarlet Witch or something like that, he sees the Necronomicon there. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here.
Oh, you're saying, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That might be tricky though, because even with the design of it, like, that's very specifically owned by another company altogether.
Yeah.
So
this is more plausible. So you know me, I love to read Reddit.
No.
Yeah. So
this is new information. I had no idea.
So on 4chan there was a script leak, and these have to be true.
Oh, yeah, source, trust me, bro.
But it was a scene for Bruce Campbell, and I'm going to try to remember it correctly. Basically, Doctor Strange warps into another reality, and a disheveled man enters the frame, and Doctor Strange greets him and talks about, have you seen this book called The Darkhold? And the disheveled man says, does it have a face on it? And it turns out to be Bruce Campbell. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's definitely a reference that like everyone who's going to see Marvel movies will most certainly get.
Well,
I mean, there's so many other things that's going to be packed into this fucking movie.
Oh, yeah.
Do you really, truly think that he's going to fucking pull in a reference to Bruce Campbell's character in his Evil Dead movies?
I hope.
I don't think so. I highly doubt it. Like, I just don't think that's gonna happen.
You just need Bruce Campbell being Bruce Campbell. Just
Honestly,
charmy,
yeah. I just want him in the movie, like
Yeah.
even if it's not.
just a
That would
wise.
just make me happy.
Yeah, I mean, it would be cool, but once again, I'm not gonna be heartbroken if he's not. And I love the Evil Dead movies, like, unabashedly. I mean, the show, I could give or take, honestly, but the movies, I absolutely adore. But there's a lot that could be going on in this. Like, we have no idea. They've teased us well, and Marvel likes to throw things in or leave things out of these trailers, so it really, like, just kind of throws us left of center, and we don't see it coming. I mean, everybody remembers the fucking Hulk showing up in the trailer for Endgame, and when we finally got there, it was Bruce Banner in a fucking Hulkbuster Iron Man suit. So that's a world of difference between those two.
Yeah, they even had the scenes already leaked and filmed, and
And then they altered the No Way Home trailer too. So we really don't.
Yeah, bang up job on that one too.
Yeah.
Oh, look, the lizard just got kicked by an invisible person. Oh, and I can see one Spider-Man 27 feet away from him. I wonder if that's one of the other Spider-Men. Christ on a cracker. Fucking good job.
So, anybody else catch anything?
I did. 2 trailers. One for.
Oh, I meant about Doctor Strange.
Oh, sorry.
We're still on that one. We're still on that.
Well, I mean, before we wrap it up, I just want to make
sure. A lot of people are speculating about that rather fiery and metal bluish individual. Who?
I have a theory on that. Fiery blue metalish guy you were talking about.
Yeah, I do too. I'm curious what you have to say.
Well, tying back to the Illuminati thing, and I went down the Reddit rabbit hole. Thanks, Leo. I read somewhere that Tom Cruise may appear as Iron Man.
God, that's been a no.
Yeah, I read that too. I read that too. And if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. I highly doubt that Tom Cruise will be showing up as Iron Man in any capacity in this movie.
I seriously hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't.
I don't think he will.
That would be terrible.
Listen, that would be so. It would be
That's
so distracting.
For Illuminati, though,
it would be so distracting. Considering that we are trying to focus on setting up everything that's going to come forth from this multiverse of madness. I don't think it's a sure bet to have Tom Cruise even remotely show up as Iron Man, because one, it cheapens the dramatic death of Tony Stark in Endgame.
Yeah.
But secondly, well, I should say, in part 2, Tom Cruise would be way too expensive for a movie that's already jam packed full of shit. And third, that would just needlessly confuse audiences that are not well versed in the behind the scenes goings on of the productions of these movies. Like, I was well aware many years back that Tom Cruise actively lobbied to play Tony Stark in an Iron Man movie that Paramount was going to produce. But ultimately, they went with Jon Favreau's idea of Robert Downey Jr., which he pushed and fought for, because that helped bring the budget down for the movie considerably. If Tom Cruise had been cast as Iron Man, most of the budget would have been his fucking salary. So I just think what a lovely idea, but I don't think it's going to happen. I do think that the more likely scenario is that character could either be Monica Rambeau, it could be Blue Marvel, which would be interesting, especially if they're doing an Illuminati thing, like, because he's definitely one of the smartest individuals in the Marvel universe. Although it'd be kind of weird to introduce him in such a way, I feel like he's owed a little bit more than that. But then also it could very well be Kang, or a version of Kang. Like, I think we're all forgetting that he's going to be a big presence, and especially since we're going to be dealing with the multiverse like full blown in this movie. The next big thing that's going to have anything to do with this kind of stuff is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which we know he is full on. Kang the Conqueror is full on the villain of. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like another variant besides He Who Remains from Loki show up in this. It would make a lot of sense if he was part of this council too that was trying to maintain order across the multiverse, much like He Who Remains had been trying to do. But that's just what I was thinking.
Yeah, it wouldn't be Tom Cruise because that would definitely take things away. I agree with that. If it isn't Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel, then, and if it is Superior Iron Man, then it has to be somebody that the general public's going to understand who that could be. And I mentioned this in the chat, either Hammer or Rhodes, or Kang, since we've seen Kang. I didn't think of that, so that's a great idea as well.
Yeah, Hammer was my very first thought when I saw it. But then at the same time, we've seen so little of him since Iron Man 2. He hasn't really been a presence. I mean, they brought Trevor Slattery back from Iron Man 3, and the closest we got was seeing Hammer in prison with him in the All Hail the King one shot. But aside from that, he's been like a almost persona non grata in the MCU since Iron Man 2. So I think he would be a dark horse for it altogether, and I think Jonathan Majors would probably be the most likely. Yeah. The only person I just don't want to see in any capacity at all in this fucking movie is John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. I'd rather rip my own fucking teeth out.
What?
Yes, indeed. I don't understand why everyone has such a hard-on for John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. Like, he's pretty perfect. He looks just like him. I'm like, in what fucking universe? Like, for real?
Well, he looks like him because they started drawing him like him. In the comics.
It's fucking, but no, even in the fucking new series, like, he's still lanky as shit with a beard. Like, have you fucking seen John Krasinski? He's been doing that goddamn show on Amazon. The guy's built like a fucking tank. He's way too big. He'd be better off, honestly. I would buy this. He'd be better cast as Ben Grimm. I would watch John Krasinski as Ben Grimm in a fucking New York Minute. Not a problem there. I don't think he's the right person to play Reed Richards. And don't even get me fucking started on Emily Blunt to Sue Storm. No, I'd rather slam my balls in a car door.
Who said that?
A lot of people. Oh, a lot of people. And mostly because of the fact that they've been saying John Krasinski should play Reed Richards. Like, and then we can get Emily Blunt to play Sue Storm because they're already married. That's not a good enough reason to cast people in a fucking movie. Just saying.
This is why I stay away from most of the internet.
That's why I go to the internet. It makes me feel better about myself. I'm like, I thought I was really dumb before I started reading this, and thankfully, I might be dumb, but I'm not as dumb as this person. Like, it's just a bunch of malarkey. I think John Krasinski, he would be good in certain roles. I don't think Reed Richards is the right role for him to play. I really don't. And that's not a knock on him. It really isn't. It's just I don't think he's the right fit. That's all. And I think they're better off not trying to introduce the Fantastic Four in this movie in any capacity. I think they'd be better served letting that be its own thing once they've been able to settle whatever the fuck is going on from the multiverse madness here, and let the Fantastic Four finally have their time to shine correctly in Marvel Studios, and we can forget all about the horse shit that we got from Fox. And I think that's the better bet, especially because I just don't. Professor X, Charles Xavier, as played by Patrick Stewart, is a very iconic role. He's very easily identifiable. Regardless of what you have to say about the X-Men movies that Fox made. Charles Xavier, as played by Patrick Stewart, people were lobbying for him to play that role for years before they ever made the first movie. And, Bryan Singer and the casting director of the first movie, they listened. And they were right. They were spot on in doing so. I think with John Krasinski, if he were to show up as Mr. Fantastic, it would be more of a head scratching moment because you haven't really established that character well enough to have it be that iconic. You know, you've had Yohan Griffith play him in 2 movies that were not well received, not the best received movies. And then what, Miles Teller played him in that Fan Four Stick that nobody fucking cared about. Yeah, exactly. Oh God. You know, I think they would be wise to stay away from a franchise that has left a sour taste in people's mouths for a while and just visit it once they are ready to establish it, you know, as its own thing within the MCU. That's,
I mean, just don't do it to do it would be my thing.
Yeah,
like, the only reason that other movie was made was just because, hey, we don't want to lose the rights to this, so let's cobble together some shit.
Basically, you're boiling it right down. I mean, don't do it just to do it. Like, don't have it in there just to have Mr. Fantastic / John Krasinski in there. Like, bump that noise. Have it mean something, you know. And I don't think that would mean much of anything to anyone, other than like hardcore nerds.
Oh, sorry, we couldn't hear you, Jeremy. What'd you say?
I said, since they're acquiring their powers, they're not mutant. Any reason that's finding it like you can make them later on. Like, it's something to do later.
I didn't catch that.
I think what Jeremy's trying to say is,
Hit that womp button right fucking now, Leo.
I think that's what he was trying to say.
You get a double whammy. No whammy, no whammy, no whammy.
Stop.
Camera time.
The fucking thing was coming in horrible.
Okay, let's try this one more time, Jeremy.
Can you hear me now?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. So it'd be easier to introduce the Fantastic Four later on anyways because of the way they acquire their powers. They're not something that you need to it's something that can be done naturally later.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of theories as to how it's going to play into Marvel Studios, Marvel's MCU, with the introduction of the Fantastic Four. And I think that's going to be a very interesting set story that they work on. I would not be surprised, like personally, I would not be surprised if it actually has something to do with the establishment of S.W.O.R.D. over the years since the 90s, because that clearly is something that started to get set up in Captain Marvel, and we are getting a much better idea of the scope of it by the end of Far From Home. And even in No Way Home, we hear, they know that Nick Fury has been off world for over a year. So like there's lots of stuff going on there. And if you're doing all kinds of stuff in outer space, that certainly lends itself to bringing in Reed Richards and Sue Storm and what have you. What kind of projects might they have been working on for S.W.O.R.D.? I think they probably would be looking at something along the lines of like, a ship or whatever, but I don't think the experimental ship is really going to be the biggest part of it. It's likely that they're going to be trying to expand their intergalactic traveling capabilities. You don't have to worry about relativistic time, light speed and what have you, and time dilation if you're able to instantaneously get from point A to point B. So we're probably going to see them working on some kind of variation of like PIM technology combined with whatever quantum ideas that Reed Richards has, and it's going to end up being about like folding space and punching pinholes through space. And in doing so, they go on the first experimental ride through that, and that's when it fucking rearranges. What I would not be surprised to see is to have them do like a little bit of a fish out of water time thing, where this is something that would have happened in the late 90s, and for them it would have been all of a minute and a half of them, going through whatever the wave was of energy and changing them at, on the molecular level. But when they come back, it's been 23 years. And that's where the Fantastic Four comes in. Like, I would not be surprised if it's something along those lines, because that adds like a little bit of a comedic element to the Fantastic Four if they do that as well. And that is something that actually should be a little bit of a part of the Fantastic Four. First and foremost, it should be fun. And that's one of the things that Fox just like they went way too far in one direction with it when they had Tim Story doing it. They weren't taking it seriously enough. And then when they did Fan Four Stick, they went way too fucking grimdark. It's like they couldn't find the balance. And I think with Marvel Studios, they will find it and they will execute it correctly. I don't think having one of the characters show up on a council with absolutely no explanation for who they are within the confines and context of the MCU is the way to go.
Well, on another note, a couple people here may be happy about this. I know RW might be. There was some GoldenEye 007 news.
I heard something from somebody, but I didn't like see it myself. But what did you hear?
Steven, you brought that to us, right?
Yep. So could be next week that the remaster, a remaster of the original game will come to Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch next week, possibly.
Did you? Oh, so it's possibly next week.
Yeah, it's
that going to be on Game Pass?
It's imminent. Like it's
let's see, potentially with day one Xbox Game Pass release. Due to the fact the original developer Rare is owned by Microsoft. This is by Bitdefender. No, that's their ad. Tech Radar.
Wonderful. Was telling me about this game, man.
Well,
Bitdefender. Why did they write about it?
Putting two and two together. I mean, it was originally ported on Nintendo, so they could put it on their expansion pack for the Nintendo 64. So the ball's open. I mean, it's going to happen.
So is this exactly like it was before, or are they going to pump it up like they did with the release of Perfect Dark when they did it?
It's going to be remastered. The graphics are updated. It's basically
it's like you did Mario.
Basically the same game, just better graphics.
Most likely, I don't believe we know exactly right now, but the reason why they're saying this is the Xbox achievements leaked online for GoldenEye 007 remaster. So they're setting up the framework for it. So the achievements leaked online somehow.
Yeah, and it's, if you pay attention to the achievements, it's the same, like if you played the N64 GoldenEye, it's like to the letter of the N64 game. So it is like an updated version of the N64 game. You're playing the N64 game, but the graphics are a little cleaner.
Right. So did you ever play Perfect Dark for the 360, which is now available on the Xbox One, which is part of the Rareware thing or whatever?
Yeah.
So yeah, they did the same thing. They cleaned up the graphics. If you haven't played it on 64 for a while, you don't notice that they cleaned up the graphics. But if you do the YouTube video where it shows what they did, you're like, oh yeah, this is a little bit different or whatever. In fact, before this podcast, I was playing Perfect Dark with my friend Nick, and we have so much fun like playing that multiplayer. And we're both really competitive, but one game we played, the game ended and we were tied 143 to 143. I died 12 times and he died 13, so I got first place. That's the only reason. But it was like, no. But yeah, I mean, I'd give anything to play, multiplayer GoldenEye again, because the campaign was fun, but that game was all about the multiplayer. And if you can play against somebody somewhere else, it's better, because when you played when you played split screen, you could see where the other person was, so you knew exactly where they were. But when you play across, the airwaves, I can't see your screen, you can't see mine. It makes it a little harder to figure out where you are. Where when you played split screen in your own home, you go, oh, I know where you are, I'm gonna go get you or whatever. So, but yeah, that'll
maybe
be.
I'm just not that skilled. I always only paid attention to where I was.
I'm looking at his screen, my screen, the radar, and yeah. But yeah, if anybody, I know most people on here are PlayStation gamers, but if anybody's an Xbox gamer and has Perfect Dark for their 360 or their Xbox One, I try to play, all the time with my friend Nick, and it's just usually two of us. The other day, I kind of wiped the floor with Tracy's oldest son. It was like 299 to 129. So but it makes it funner when there's more than two people, because it just is. But yeah, I if GoldenEye comes out in a week, just take my money, like seriously.
Another thing that you don't need to pay money for, though, the Cyberpunk 2077 version 1.5 has been released.
Finally.
Yeah. So as we know, Cyberpunk 2077 was released with a ton of bugs. It was unfinished. So it's been over a year now? It's been year and a half since it came out?
This update fixed the game?
Yeah, so supposedly
Nope, it broke it further.
Yeah.
Different bugs now.
Yeah, from what I read, it fixed a ton of bugs. Fixed a lot of the game where there was issues with the weighted system for properties like cars and weapons and everything. The pricing just didn't make sense, and also the graphics were highly updated. And also the UI for the NPCs. Apparently they were erratic, and that's been fixed. So.
Now, did you say you don't have to pay for this, or you do?
It is the next gen version is a free trial, or but if you have the PlayStation 4 version, I think you can upgrade to the PlayStation 5 version for free.
Gotcha.
But then if you already own it, you can download the update. It's 80 gig for PS4, 50 gig for PS5.
Now, besides
You
Jeremy,
already
who else
didn't break the disc?
Yeah.
Besides Jeremy, who else does Xbox One? Just Jeremy. Do you play
I do nothing.
instead of downloading the game, you stream it or whatever?
I have a Series X, and I download everything.
Gotcha, because you can now play some games where you're just streaming them, but
Yeah.
they get wicked pixely every now and then, so it's kind of hard to you're in one scene and it's you're like, come on, catch up with me here. Then you get shot and you're like, I guess it's too late. But I just didn't know if anybody else had experience with that. Sorry about that, guys. I have this one hair that will not stop tickling my nose.
That's the worst. That's why I trimmed the beard earlier today.
I meant to do it. I meant to call my sister
most of the day. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I meant to call my sister a week ago, and I'm like, don't forget to call her today. Forgot to do that. Forgot to trim my mustache. I'm a complete wreck. I don't write things down, and 2 weeks later, I'm like, all right, my grandpa's funeral. That was 37 years ago. Fuck, I forgot to go to that.
He's not going anywhere.
But yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's awesome news, Steve and Leo. The GoldenEye thing, because, like I say, I freaking loved that game, and like I say, I played Perfect Dark at least once, if not more, a week with my friend Nick or Tracy's son Aiden, and it is so head to head, But.
Nice.
Yeah. Star Trek. We're getting a new Star Trek.
Yes.
Another one.
Yes.
Along with all the other announcements they made with Paramount, they announced a Grease prequel. They announced
Why?
Finally.
They announced a series to this was a series that I was interested in when they announced all the different stuff for Paramount Plus besides Star Trek. It was called The Offer, and it was about how The Godfather was made, how the production hell it went through before it got made, how Hollywood didn't want to make it and the producers wanted to make it. It's gonna come out in a few weeks on Paramount Plus.
And then the producers made them an offer they couldn't refuse.
Exactly. Then Paramount Plus announced that. Yeah. Then Paramount Plus announced that for anyone that's listening right now in the UK, you're going to get Paramount Plus in the summer. All theatrical releases will get released after in 2023, following its theatrical releases. South Park will be exclusively on Paramount Plus. Beavis and Butthead will get its
Wait,
own.
what?
What?
Yeah,
It's on HBO right now.
I know, but they're going to move over to Paramount Plus.
Okay.
and as Stephen was about to say, a new Beavis and Butthead show.
And movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So a third Beavis and Butthead show.
It's like really cool. I am the great Cornholio.
Didn't they
Is it gonna
already
be Mike
do
Judge
like?
or
Didn't they already do a Beavis and Butthead?
Do
like-
America, yeah. It was 97,
No.
was it?
No. They did.
They brought the show back for
brought the show
one
back,
season.
yeah.
But I thought it was hilarious. Like, oh my god, because
So
they're
right.
both hilarious. But
But they're doing it again because they have the exclusivity with Paramount Plus. Like,
is it
'cause
gonna be Mike
MTV
Judge or just gonna be someone else?
No, Mike Judge. He's doing the artwork, the voices, and everything. So he's
that'll be cool.
But the pet.
Oh, geez, and they made him old.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you're gonna grow up sometime, you dumbass.
But the thing with the South Park thing, Leo, I think I confused you. So for the next 6 years, you know how South Park did like two specials, like the post-COVID and the post-vaccination special.
Yep.
They're gonna do like 2 specials a year, but then all their every catalog of episodes are going to be on Paramount Plus. Don't know if that includes 200 and 201 and Super Best Friends because those are considered banned. But everything.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean they have everything from Comedy Central. I mean Comedy Central is a Paramount Viacom.
Yeah.
Well,
entity, so-
it just confused me because the new season 25 is running right now on HBO.
Max, yeah.
There's 25 seasons of South Park.
They're on the 25th right now. It's
Wow.
new episodes.
I
every-
never ever watched that. I think I watched the South Park movie because I worked at the theater, but now I'm hearing about this guy that looks like one of the Village people who says JC, which I've never said because of my religious belief. And I'm like, okay, I think maybe I'll have to check out this.
RW, I got to tell you, I didn't watch South Park. I mean, I haven't watched it for a while now, but I did not watch it for a very, very long time. And nothing against it. I never really caught it when it first came on. And
right. And I think that's my problem.
Yeah. And I didn't really care for it. Nothing like when I say care for it, I didn't care about catching up to it. It was like, whatever. I missed it. I'll just keep living my life. I'll be fine.
Right.
And then I started catching some of the reruns that they were showing on Comedy Central, and I was like, what is this shit? And I started to realize like, whoa, this show is actually a lot more socially aware than I realized. And like they have their finger on the pulse quite a bit, and the social commentary is both clever and a lot of the time less than subtle. But it's done with that lack of subtlety so masterfully because they are literally trying to reach the lowest common denominator. They're being funny and trying to service everyone, but they're also kind of winking at everyone, saying like, listen, we know that we're beating you over the head with this, but we have to make sure that the dummy McDum-Dums understand it too. And it's quite deftly executed. After a while, I will say, like, I had to like stop because it's just too much after a bit. But when I go back to it, I always find myself like stuck for a little while more, like coming back, like, okay, they have all kinds of new fucked up things to say, and it's impressive, especially if you've ever seen how they go about producing the episodes. They actually did like a mini, like a documentary on it. I think it was called 1 Week to Air.
Yeah. Yep.
And it shows they actually would produce an episode each week. So they would have to write it and get all the animation done by the time it aired on Comedy Central each week. And like to give themselves like that little time to crunch everything out, it's fucking insane. Like
But it also made every episode very relevant.
Yeah.
Well, certainly timely for
Yeah.
sure. You know, but that's a double-edged sword because at the time it comes out, it's spot on, but it also becomes very much locked into the time that it was done.
Yes.
You know, so it acts as
It isn't necessarily a bad thing, depending on the episode.
no, it's not necessarily, but it is something that's inherent when they do that.
True.
I started watching South Park when the Jesus versus Santa Claus was floating around on floppy when we were sharing it on floppy.
My God.
I had like 5 floppy disks. Watched the whole episode. It was
Jesus Christ.
I think I even had it backed up on tape drive.
Of course you did. So I mean, we're talking about Paramount stuff. Like the header was another Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
It's no, don't apologize. I wrote this back. It's all good. So yeah, it's gonna be produced by J.J. Abrams, and the principal cast is coming back. You know, Zachary Quinto, Chris Pine, Zoe Saldana, Carl Urban. And it's going to be directed by Matt Shackman, who is the director and showrunner for WandaVision on Disney Plus. So you know, it seems like they have a good group all put together for executing this next one. Let's see how it pans out. You know,
Yeah, Star Trek is definitely in its prime right now. It's Discovery is amazing. Lower Decks is hilarious. Picard's all right.
I like Picard.
Yeah, it's not as good as Discovery, but it's all right.
I haven't seen Discovery yet, so
yeah. Was that Jeremy?
Discovery's great.
Yeah, it is.
I've heard good things. You know, I'm like pacing my way through it. Part of it is like I want to watch Discovery, but I am also working my way through Next Generation again, and I kind of want to like pace myself through everything. I'm never gonna get my wife to watch Next Generation. I got her to watch like all the movies, which I was proud of myself for getting that to happen. But when it comes to the shows, like nah. But I'm still like kind of like trying to nudge her a bit to be like, hey, you know what? Like I really like Deep Space Nine. You should like check out some of these episodes when I watch it. And she's like, oh yeah, that certainly sounds like a show you would watch. I'm like, yeah, maybe it sounds like a show you would watch too. And she's like, a show you would watch, Brandon. I'm like, okay, thanks for that. I think.
Yeah, it's funny because when Next Generation came out, the first season was horrible, and I'm like the first episode was horrible. And I was like, yeah, this isn't Star Trek. And then a friend of mine loaned me some of his VHS tapes that he had recorded the show from like the third season. And he's like, no, it's good. And so then I watched the third season episode and was like, okay, this is pretty good. What was this beginning crap or whatever?
It's when it grew the beard.
Yeah, exactly. So I went back and watched, everything so I could figure out how they got better. And then when Deep Space Nine came out, I go, what is this? Like, this isn't Star Trek, but it ended up actually becoming my favorite of all the series. Like,
I fucking love that goddamn
yeah,
show.
and I just recently watched What We Left Behind documentary or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was so sad to see Aaron Eisenberg, who played Nod, and you knew he was dying. That was like really close to one of the last things he ever did before he passed away or whatever. But at the very end, you can't help but get emotional when he's crying. And he says this, he goes, what do I leave behind? This show changed my life. This show saved my life or whatever. And, he didn't have much longer to live after that, but, it was just kind of sad. But yeah, a lot of people hated that.
It's a documentary called What We Left Behind, which is actually it's on YouTube for free.
Nice.
Yeah,
I forgot where. I think I might have seen it either on Internet Movie Database, TV, Tubi TV, one of those services where it's free and not all pixelated or whatever. I forgot where I watched it. But go ahead, Steve.
I saw it in the theater with my co-host because my co-host is a big Deep Space Nine fan. And when RW and Brandon, you may know what I'm talking about with this one scene in the documentary when they were doing the pitch for season 8, and then at the very end they cut to black and say, "Okay, we pitched the first episode. Now figure it out for yourself." Everyone in the theater was like, "Fuck," including my co-host. I was just sitting there like, okay.
What just happened?
And it's sad because Renee Auberjonois is gone, Aaron Eisenberg is gone. Everybody else is like 97 years old. So I mean, but it grew on me, and so did the next generation. But I ended up, for some reason, just liking that interaction between the characters on this ship trying to get along, and everybody had their issues or whatever.
The thing about it too is a lot of the stuff that is popping up in more recent additions to the Star Trek mythos actually had their start in Deep Space Nine. When I say that, a lot of people, like especially with Picard, they had some issue. It actually kind of mirrors some of the same complaints about Deep Space Nine, really. That this is not the same universe that Gene Roddenberry had envisioned. Like everybody's supposed to be, like hunky dory and getting along, and everybody wants to be part of the Federation. And if they don't want to be, well, then the Federation takes care of them. But it doesn't necessarily mean fucking wiping them out off the face of existence or anything. But like we saw, especially in Picard, a lot of seedy underbelly, and that was first hinted in Deep Space Nine. That's when we get oh my god, what's the name? Is it section? What's
31.
31? Thank you. Section 31, which is basically the Men in Black of the Federation. They don't officially exist. When they first popped up in DS9, Trekkies were not fucking pleased at all. Meanwhile, I was giggling in the corner, rolling around, holding my sides. I thought it was fucking delightful. It makes sense. It's sort of like, and this was not something I was able to really put into words until I had actually seen this later. But to use another sort of space adventure, Serenity, which was based off of Firefly by Joss Whedon. The character that Chiwetel Ejiofor plays in that movie, where he's going around doing all this dirty shit for the government, for the space government. And he's like, I'm doing this to make a better world. And somebody's like, oh, you really think you're gonna live in a world that lets shit like this happen? He's like, no, you're not paying attention. I'm not gonna live there. I'm doing this to make that world. That's exactly what Section 31 is there for. It's to maintain the status quo and to make sure that shit doesn't fall apart. But nobody wants to talk about that. And we're starting to see that same kind of shit happen in Picard. And the second I saw it going down like that in Picard, I was like, oh, this is exactly the kind of stuff that I thought I was going to see more of when William Sadler showed up in Deep Space Nine. That's cool shit. And that's one of the things that made Deep Space Nine, such a great story. I mean, aside from the fact that one, Avery Brooks as Captain Sisko is just phenomenal. He is so excellent in that role. But also, it was stationary, and it flew in the face of the idea of a 5-year mission to boldly go where no man had got before. They went in as the liberators for for a planet that was being held by an occupying force. This was basically the Allies coming in and kicking the Axis powers out, and the allegory is very strong. There's a lot of moralistic stuff that doesn't beat you over the head within the entirety of the story. And on top of that, regardless of any other story elements, Jeffrey Combs shows up left and right in that fucking series.
As 50 different things, yeah.
I will watch that guy in anything. He is so fucking talented, and he is nowhere near as rated for it as he should be.
Yeah.
Leo has something.
Yeah. Okay. So Discovery, Section 31 plays a big part into it, to the point where Section 31 is getting its own series. Also, Star Trek Discovery is spinning off, I believe, a Strange New Worlds, which is taking place before the original series with Pike and Spock on the Enterprise.
Okay.
Which play a big part with season 2 of Discovery. And also, I think he's part of Section 31. David Cronenberg plays a part on Discovery.
No shit.
Yeah.
David Cronenberg?
Yeah.
The director?
Yep. He plays an awesome part on Discovery. He's like that Men in Black type of guy that like he knows the answer to everything, and it's just it's Discovery is so awesome.
So for those of you who watch Deep Space Nine, I don't expect you to remember every episode. Obviously, two that stick out was where they redid the Trouble with Tribbles thing, and I thought that was brilliant. And I'm like, why didn't we do this in Star Trek: The Next Generation? But the one episode of Deep Space Nine that really hit me in the feels the most was where Tony Todd plays young Jake Sisko caught in that whole thing, and the person goes to interview him for like the newspaper or whatever it is, and he's crying. Tony Todd's crying because he's like, and I could see my dad, but I couldn't do anything. And I'm like, freaking, when I met Tony Todd at Super Mega Fest, I said, dude, this was my favorite episode of Deep Space Nine. And like, you just, every time I watch it, I can't not cry, like the emotion you brought to that thing. And he was like, thank you so much or whatever. But I don't know if you remember that one, but that one to me was one of the best episodes in my opinion for acting and writing and like hitting you in the feels. But I mean, there were a lot of good ones, but
yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. Tony Todd, that episode was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
For real. But anything that involves Sisko and his family in particular in that show, it's all predicated upon the strength of Avery Brooks's performance. And quite frankly, like everyone that works on that show, they are doing such an amazing job. But Avery Brooks, he is on a whole other level. He elevates the performances around him. And you can tell how well that worked for everyone that he worked with. I mean, even later on when they replaced Dax with another actress
in the documentary, they talk about how she was scared, and he's like, "Look, settle down. Let's just do this," or what,
For him to be like the old hat, and say like, "Hey, listen, we're here. We're all gonna do the job. You have a team around you, and we're gonna get through this together. This is not all on you.
Right.
So like, let us know what you're worried about, and we'll take care of it." His collaborative spirit is just it's ever present, and it translates to why he plays such a good captain within the show. It's such a good series, and I do highly recommend it. I really do.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned crying, and this might be the last item on the list. If we want to exercise our face muscles.
Are you doing your face exercises right now? What are you doing? Oh, if I do this, then they won't recognize you.
Obviously, Peacemaker. I'm sure is everybody watching Peacemaker?
Yes,
I'm starting to.
Oh my god, dude!
Finish
it.
Yeah, I like it.
It's glorious.
It is. I have been. I've liked James Gunn for a very long time. And I mean, I think I've mentioned it before on the show years and years ago when I was working at Blockbuster. Jesus. All right. There was a movie I saw that I had read briefly about in Wizard. I'm really saying a lot of old fashioned shit. Like,
Wizard.
I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about my rotary phone next. But yeah, I remember there being like a brief thing on this movie, The Specials, and I happened to see it right there in the store, so I used one of my free rentals and checked it out. And it's this like kind of third or fourth tier superhero team that one of the members gets called up to the big leagues, and it has Rob Lowe, Jordan Ladd, James Gunn himself is in it. He wrote the movie. Of course, his brother Sean is in it, playing a goofy alien who doesn't speak English at all. So a Sean Gunn role through and through. And several other people. I guess, did I say Rob Lowe already? But regardless, Thomas Hayden Church, Paget Brewster. It's just, I remember seeing it and saying like, wow, this guy James Gunn, if he actually had a budget, he could probably make like a really kick-ass superhero movie or something. And then Guardians of the Galaxy came out years later. I was like, there it is. Okay, yeah. So somebody knew if they gave this guy a budget that he'd give them this kind of shit. And it just goes to show that with doing Suicide Squad leading into Peacemaker, he doesn't have to lean on like the big, fantastical, cosmic, weird side of stuff to make a story that's engaging and still has a lot of the crazy shit that he's known for. In Peacemaker, I mean, my God, he has done such a great job with not just characterization, but combining a lot of the elements that have made him a popular filmmaker over the years. There's a scene, and I'm not trying to give it away specifically, but if you've watched it, the scene where you have a bunch of insects flying around and how it affects people, and it shows them smiling and stuff afterwards. That whole thing, it screams James Gunn, because it is equally entertaining, hilarious, and horrifying all at once. You know, in the fact that by the time you get to even a couple of episodes into the series, like, I never gave a flying fuck about the character of Peacemaker. I've known who Peacemaker is for years. Fucking tertiary character at best. Yeah. And by the end of this season, which will be tomorrow night, I am going to be like, God damn it, I can't believe I have to wait another fucking year for season 2 of this bullshit.
I actually love John Cena now. Like, that dude is amazing. I'm like,
yeah.
That show is just fantastic. Every episode hits you in the feels and makes you crack up laughing.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, and you know what, Jeremy, too, in regards to John Cena, I am actually like so impressed with him. He has shown a range of acting in this that I had no idea he was capable of. You know, we joke about face exercises and what have you, but there's a scene in particular where he's sitting in his trailer on his bed, and he is just straight up openly weeping. And God damn it, dude! Like, that is, it's not CGI tears. That is John Cena, like, crying his fucking eyes out.
Like, because that was amazing. Like, the feels during that scene were just like, wow. And let's talk about the music. Holy crap!
Oh yeah,
80s band.
I know.
That dance scene in the beginning, you have to watch the whole thing every single time.
Every time. You know, not only that, like, it's so cleverly seated with the characters throughout the show. You know, you see how, you know, let me say, like, you get halfway through the show, the series at this point, the season, and you watch that opening dance number for the credits, and you're like, okay, I mean, I guess I understand why these couple of people are in there. And now, you know, we're coming up on the last episode of the season. We just had the penultimate episode, and you look at those credits differently each time, because now looking at it like, oh, well, those two people, that's completely changed. I get that now. They're pretty fucking important, aren't they? You know, it's interesting.
Back when I did this, one of my early independent films, we really needed a budget for transportation, and we ended up with Hertz.
What? Herpes?
Hertz. We needed a budget for transportation, and we ended up with Hertz.
Oh my fucking
Picard
God.
is disappointed in you.
I felt the disturbance in the force.
Oh
as
my
if
God.
a billion people just died from not laughing.
One more.
I gave you the clue. Budget for transportation. We ended up with Hertz. Come on.
No, we fucking got it. Like,
No,
we
you
get it
didn't.
now.
Go, what?
Well, yeah, no, we get it now. We get it now.
But yeah, who remembers this game going back a long way? It was like Castle's answer to Simon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember
That makes
Simon.
sense.
Yeah. Einstein.
It's like Simon, but rectangular.
Indifferent.
The kids will love it.
And now Einstein is an IBM product.
Wow.
Actually, they just sold it too.
Oh gosh.
IBM. So do I.
Oh, and I saw that all the four other characters from A Christmas Story are coming back to reprise their role in that new A Christmas Story sequel movie.
Hey.
So they got to impress me because 8-Bit was so good, wasn't it, Brandon?
I like.
Yeah, it was definitely the best movie I've ever seen, named 8-Bit Christmas.
Jeremy, you liked it as well?
I did.
I loved it. I loved it.
I enjoyed it the fuck out of it.
Yeah, Brandon's a huge fan of that and Rogue One. He never stops talking about either one of those movies.
I mean, I really could not give two fucking shits about 8-Bit Christmas. Like, I watched it and I'm fine just living the rest of my life with never having seen it again. I'll be okay with that. Rogue One, you know what? Everyone who was involved with Rogue One, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart and in the nicest way possible, fuck you and everyone who looks like you.
Go ahead, Steven.
I hate that fucking movie. I really do. I'm not.
I'm convinced 8-Bit Christmas, you need to be a certain age in order to really enjoy.
Dude, I'm gonna be 40 next week. What age do I have to fucking be to enjoy 8-Bit Christmas? Like, you see, you're saying like, oh, you have to be a certain age. Where I'm sitting there like, yeah, certain age, or do I have to hit myself in the head with a fucking tack hammer a certain amount of times before I start to enjoy it? Because that's how I felt.
I believe it's 5.
It's just so.
I believe it's 5.
Yeah, ding, ding, ding. By the time
I would say mid 40s. You need to be mid 40s.
Okay, please.
Upper mid 40s.
That movie is just so fucking disingenuous. It just fucking throws a huge curveball at the end. Like, he's telling a fucking story about being this goddamn mercurial possessive kid over a fucking Nintendo, like he's Arnold Schwarzenegger looking for a turbo.
Oh no!
Man. All right, and then
I dropped out. My phone died.
Oh no!
No, you're still there.
And then
no, you're not.
Like literally, just the death throes of his phone is what we caught.
But then you get to the very end of it, and like, and then it's like, but here's a treehouse I built with my dad. Wait, what? What the what? Why? Show us that shit. Like, it just came out of fucking nowhere. It just seemed like so purposefully done to pull at heartstrings when there was nothing to indicate that was going to happen. I just fuck that movie. Fuck
Somebody
it right
tell
up its ass.
Jeremy they make cords so your phone doesn't die.
I want to say something real quick before
Go
we
ahead.
wrap up. I know we were talking about half the show about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness of the Super Bowl. There's one Super Bowl trailer that I was completely surprised and blown away by.
Was it Coinbase?
No. If they make a movie about Coinbase, then more power to it. It's by Jordan Peele, and it's called
Nope.
Yeah,
I saw that like before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, same
And I
here.
was like, yes.
That looks so freaky.
Yeah, it does. But the thing is, and I was in like I was talking with a couple people in the group chat, but Jordan Peele's he's revolutionized in this side of the millennium the horror films with Get Out and Us, more specifically Get Out. I wouldn't say Us that much.
Me neither.
Brandon, I agree with you. Us wasn't that good compared.
It could have been. It really could have been, but that third act just drops the ball so hard.
If you were to compare Us and Get Out, I would prefer Get Out over Us because Get Out is superior over Us. But if you're looking at Jordan Peele's line of work, not including Key and Peele, you have Get Out, Us, the Twilight Zone stuff, and then you have Nope. I believe with everything that he's done, I think Nope has some potential. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with Nope. And you said there's one particular scene in the trailer that had you in chills.
Yeah,
that shook me too, because there is the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean the fact that he's going with an alien, alien sci-fi thriller this time around, I do find interesting because he's gone with the first movie. I don't, whether or not you realize the first movie is straight up body horror. The second, it doesn't seem Cronenberg-esque because that's what a lot of people think when they think of body horror, but no, that is certainly what it is. And body horror is like the number one thing that skeeves me right the fuck out. I don't do well with body horror. Like, I watched the movie Upgrade. I love the movie Upgrade, but I also am completely skeeved out by the movie Upgrade. Like, that shit just frightens the fuck out of me.
Now,
I don't
what's
like
the Upgrade's the one with that new actor kind of who has a 3-part name, right?
Logan Marshall Green.
Yeah, I freaking love that guy from the first time I saw him in anything.
Yeah, no, he's good, and he's good in that. Like, he really is. To be perfectly honest, like, a lot of what I saw in Upgrade kind of made me feel like, oh, this is kind of what the movie Venom should have been.
There's a video game on Xbox called Telling Lies that he pretty much is the main kind of character. Well, he's not the main character, but he's one of the main characters. So, like, they're doing video games now too. It's like,
yeah,
well, that's the guy from that movie that I saw and the other movie that he was in too, because he's been in a couple that I'm just like, wow, I like this guy.
But the thing is with Jordan Peele doing Nope, I saw in theaters and I enjoyed the first 2 acts. I mean, I like Duke Winston a lot. I've liked him actually ever since I first saw him in Modern Family. He showed up in that before he was ever in like Black Panther or anything like that. He's got really good comedic chops. And I've had like a huge crush on Lupita Nyong'o for forever and a fucking day. Like, she is so talented and she's adorable. Like, forget it. And she really, like, she brings it in Us. But that third act, there's so many logic faults and rushes to get through that it just makes everything that was set up so beautifully before it fall completely flat. And when I can get pulled out of the movie like that in the theater, that's not a good sign.
And I was at a press screening for it, and I literally had to walk out because I was the third act.
It was not great.
No.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I feel like the Twilight Zone series that's been on CBS All Access / Paramount Plus, I think it's been very hit or miss for me, mostly miss. But that being said, I don't think personally, like, I don't look at Jordan Peele as being like the next great horror director or whatever. I think he's a good director who he's working in the niche that he likes right now. But he hit with an excellent movie. His sophomore effort, which is usually what happens with sophomore efforts, was okay at best. And then this new movie, with it being a sci-fi alien thriller, it strikes me as funny because it's sort of following along the same lines as what M. Night Shyamalan did.
Yep.
Yeah.
He had The Sixth Sense, and then Unbreakable came out, and it was like okay to some people. Like, for me, it was tailor made for comic book nerds like myself. Like, I was in the theater and I was like, oh my god, will they stop saying all these comic book things? My penis can only get so erect. And then finally Signs came out, and like, holy shit, it felt like, oh, he's getting back to like the creepy atmospheric stuff, and it's working more in line with what we got in The Sixth Sense. I think that may be what we're seeing with Nope. And I do really like Daniel Kaluuya, who, he is in Nope, and he also played the main character in Get Out. And Keke Palmer, who's playing the female lead in the movie, and it looks like they're playing brother and sister. And it's the scene in the trailer. It shows her like just running in the middle of the day, like under the cover of noon, and like all the shit like literally just starts flying, and everything's swirling about, and she's running trying to get to safety, and all of a sudden she is just pulled up, like, but you don't see anything. She just gets sucked up into the air and screaming at the top of her lungs. And like, I saw that and I was like, oh, even mentioning it right now, like, I'm getting fucking goose pimples. Like, it was harrowing to watch. And as soon as I finished that trailer, I was like, well, it looks like I'm going to be seeing this in the theater.
Yeah. So if he's going the same route as Shyamalama Ding Dong, hopefully he doesn't have a hanging microphone in this one.
We'll see. Boom, boom, boom.
Have you guys seen that?
No.
No.
I understood that reference.
What does he have a hanging microphone in?
There's a scene in Signs. It's in the house.
Yes.
And there's a boom mic that drops down. That
I can honestly say I've never seen Signs. I've
Oh.
never had any desires to.
It's actually not bad, man. It's really not. Like it's very evenly paced. A lot of people, it's funny, I've heard people say like it's so quiet. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. It takes place in rural Pennsylvania. It's supposed to be removed and remote. That's part of the reason why it's so hard hitting when the aliens show up, because it seems like one of those things where it'd be like, oh, it's in these far off places, it's in these cities, it's in these highly populated areas, and like lo and behold, boom, no, it's right fucking there in this farmland in PA. Like, so that's part of the reason why it's so harrowing to these folks. And M. Night Shyamalan, he might, just like every other movie, he has a role in this. He has an appearance, and it's one of the few times that like the role he plays in these movies, like he does it very effectively. It works for the story and for the main character.
Isn't he like a cop or something in Signs or something like that? Or
No, he is. I mean, Yo-Yo hasn't seen it, but it is like an old movie. Now, he is the guy who kills Mel Gibson's wife.
Which one? Because there was one he was recently, and then he was like the cop. I don't remember. Oh, that was The Village, maybe.
Yes, The Village.
Yeah.
He was like the security guard.
Yeah,
at like the station there. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, Boom in the Shot. It's like I was watching freaking Love Boat episodes from the 70s on Paramount Plus a few months back when I was going on this cruise or whatever, and there's a bunch of booms in the shot, and then the camera rises up because most of the stuff was shot in the studio, and the camera has to show like all of the set or whatever, and you can see all the lights hanging over the set that are lighting the setup in the shot. And I'm like, who didn't see that? But I think sometimes people either don't see it or like, this is what we got. We can't do anything about it or whatever. But yeah, booms in the shot are not that uncommon. Neither are Starbucks coffees underneath your throne, But
yeah, so Nope looks like it's gonna be a good flick. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked his work, like I say, Jordan Peele stuff, and I've reached out to him, and I'm like, hey, I'd like to be in your next movie, and I haven't heard back from him, and it's been like maybe 2.5 years now, but I'm still, I'm holding out hope that my email got lost somewhere in a spam folder or whatever.
Check your junk mail.
Yeah, and maybe he made a spam sandwich with my email or something. I don't really know, but the reason that maybe some of the Twilight Zones are hit or miss, and I haven't seen any of the new ones, but Rod Serling was Rod Serling. He was a freaking genius or whatever, and it's hard to copy what Rod already did. Plus, the Twilight Zone came along at a time where we were made to think about things, like in the original Twilight Zone, and now I don't think we're in that same mindset as we were then. Maybe that's why some of these are hit or miss, and I don't know which.
I think. I mean, he and the writers of it, they do try to lean towards the more moralistic views that Rod Serling and his writers tried to hit when they did the original series. I think where they falter in the new show, especially, is when they actually try to closely emulate what it was that occurred in some of the original series episodes. For example, Nightmare at 30,000 feet.
Yeah, with William Shatner originally.
Well, no, see, that's the thing, is the original episode is Nightmare at 20,000 feet, whereas the new one starring Adam Scott in the new series is Nightmare at 30,000 feet, and it's misleading.
I liked that one because he's listening to a podcast and he's hearing about what's going to happen. It's not about a goddamn gremlin on the plane. He's hearing about it on a podcast. So
and that's the thing. Like I have no problem for the most part with what happens in the episode. It's the fact that like they couldn't let it stand on its own as being a thing. They had to give it a title that was reminiscent of the episode from the previous series, and it ends up the only real similarity is the fact that it takes place on a plane. Like, you could have come up with a better title for that where it wasn't going to set somebody up with expectations, because that's not
But
really
how much of that
subverting it.
has to do with like studio versus like the director and the people who wrote its decision?
Yeah,
like
I
that's
mean,
the stuff you don't know. Like,
true, but I mean, there's other ones too. Like, I mean, I watched the episode with Kumail Nanjiani where he plays a stand-up comedian, and I like Kumail Nanjiani a lot. But even by the end of that episode, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like, I was like bored to tears by the end of it. It was not great. I was kind of I was not wholly impressed, and I'll check out more of it because I didn't even bother checking out the second season. And I do have the subscription to the freaking streaming site, so I should just make use of it. But regardless of that, I'm hoping that with us, he learned his lesson insofar as like what he can and cannot get away with audiences, and that he maybe doesn't have as many yes men and women around him as he did with us. I think it's very important for people who are seen as big creatives to have trustworthy individuals around them that can tell them, like, I don't know if that's the best idea, man. Like, do you think that you should do that, or is there something else you should do? The second that nobody has somebody around them in a professional setting like that, then you're going to start to see the quality of their projects decline. And I like to think that he is a smart enough and creative enough individual that he really took a good hard look at some of the constructive criticisms of his last effort, and he course corrected with this newest project. That's my hope.
Yeah.
why am I right now thinking of Dave Chappelle?
I don't know. I have no idea why you're thinking of Dave Chappelle. I mean, could be any number of
special.
reasons.
It was like Mac Mittens. You should always have a Mac Mittens with you.
God. But yeah, it does. It does look like a very interesting project, and it's good that we're getting what looks to be more quality horror and sci-fi, like thriller stuff coming out. So I think we need more original content that's being made, and not just going back to the well of remakes or resequels and stuff. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people
Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
it is.
I have zero use for any of that shit, and quite frankly, I know you enjoyed it, Steve, but I couldn't believe I sat through the entirety of the movie Halloween Kills in a movie theater. Like, that movie, that movie was like an hour and 40 minutes long, and it should have only been an hour long.
Well, that's because I know I'm more of the Halloween fan in the group.
No, I love Halloween, my friend. I'm on your side.
So, but I know where Brandon's coming from, but there was something about it that I enjoyed. I don't know.
But I mean, but the reason I bring it up, it's not to like harp on that movie in particular. I'm sorry. Like, the reason I say is just because, okay, another Halloween movie, great. But like, what about like newer stuff? What about different stuff? I mean, even Jordan Peele went back and produced a Candyman sequel. Like, I still haven't seen it because I just haven't gotten around to it yet. That's
not worth it. It's not worth it.
I have no opinion on it because I haven't seen it. I can't say one way or the other for myself, but I do think it just kind of sucks to like get rehashes of all this stuff. Like, we get a Child's Play movie that remakes the entire thing, and it takes out all the cool like hoodoo stuff out of it and turns him into a fucking mini cyborg. Like, okay,
there's a new Scream that's in the theaters right now.
Yeah, fucking Scream 5, basically.
And the new Back to the Future with Bryan Cranston coming. I mean, like, seriously.
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, actually,
I was going to have 1,000 questions there.
Yeah, but There was. I read somewhere that the DeLorean is coming back and it's going to be electric.
Really?
I mean, that was ahead of its time, so.
Yeah.
We'll see.
What I think is cool is that Jim Varney, who played Ernest P. Worrell, owned a DeLorean. Like, it's just not the car you would think Jim Varney would be driving around in. But I think that's wicked cool.
Hey, Vern.
We're gonna go back to the future. You know what I mean?
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Oh my God. Okay. On that note, we're going to end it. I want to thank everybody for watching this fine evening. For me, just Google Leo Pond. You'll find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. But I want you to follow all these awesome peeps here. Definitely go check out Jeremy. He had to drop a little early because his battery ran out. And I run a little thing called the Dorkening Podcast Network. Got about 40 shows on the network. There's a lot of awesome people doing a lot of awesome stuff. So go check it out. On that note, RW, where do you like people finding you?
Anywhere really, but go to officialrwmartin.com, which is right there. All the links to all my social media and stuff is at the very bottom of the page. And if you haven't yet, pick up my book. The audiobook is now done. I did it myself, which it's going to be really horrible, but it's going to be funny because I did it. And that'll be available at some point. I don't know when. The person who actually did it is trying to edit it all together, and I got to figure out where it's going to. I don't know if I'm going to put it out there for free, put it out there for $1 a chapter, or $20, $10, $15 for the whole thing, or however. I don't know how audiobooks work. But check it out. It's got some funny stuff in it. I know the guy who wrote it. He's pretty funny too.
Well, let me know when the audios book out. I would love to pick it up.
Oh, there's some funny stuff because, like, when I have ADHD, and some of these chapters are really long, and so I'd get wicked tongue-tied, and I just left it in there. So I'm reading along, and I'm like, I told you I'm not sure when it was. A Friday, Saturday. Anyways, what I was saying, and I just leave it in there because it's an audiobook and it'll make someone laugh. So
awesome.
Yeah. Anyways,
Steven.
So you can follow Super Richard Throwback Reviews on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we have 2 podcasts that are exclusively on the Dorkening Podcast Network and all major podcasts and distributors, and they are Super Richard Throwback Reviews, the audio files, the multi-award nominated pop culture podcast, and CSI The Vegas Files. Again, both on the Dorkening Podcast Network and all major podcasts and distributors. We also have a Teespring store. The link is in the show notes. And also check out our Patreon. Leo's a backer. We have a new backer. Check it out. $1, $3. It's better than $2.50. We're meeting you halfway. So check out all the wonderful tiers we got. You get a Discord server. You get all this wonderful stuff. Check it out. And I'm here every Wednesday.
Yo.
Follow me at Yo St. Laurent on Instagram and Twitter. That's basically all I've been doing lately. So hit me up there.
Okay. No TikTok.
No, never.
Never say never.
Oh no, I will say never. There is one video of me on TikTok, but no one will ever see it. So.
Yo, I said never, and I have a TikTok now.
Brandon.
Hey everyone. If you want to come over and check out the Powers Combined group on Facebook, that'd be great. It's just a bunch of dorks that get together and share info, have a lot of laughs. Our number 1 rule is don't be a jerk. If you violate that, you will be booted immediately. You can follow me on Twitter at Brandon's Powers and on Instagram at this Brandon Has Powers. And you can find me here every Wednesday night on the Dorkening Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, I'm doing a couple of podcasts, both with Leo Pond and our good buddy Justin Cooper, the Coop. One is The Dork Night, where we cover all things Batman. And the other is Comics Paradox, where we talk about alternate reality takes on different superheroes and within the comic books industry, basically between the 2 big publishers, DC and Marvel. Just looking at Elseworlds, what ifs, and just, skewed takes on the characters that you already know and love. Those will be coming out soon, so keep your eyes peeled, and they'll be premiering on a bi-weekly basis.
Well, thank you for all for watching. Catch you guys later. Bye.
Have a good night, everybody.